Succession.
So, yeah, what was is this episode 4 or 5?
5.
5.
5.
Yeah. So episode 5 is Succession. I have to check how many episodes there are this
10.
season, but there are 10.
Mhm.
Okay, so we're halfway through. This has been an amazing season so far. I think we both agree with that. So this episode, we went to Norway, right? We went to Norway.
Yes. Norway to deal with the Swedish guy.
Right. He travels around. You know,
Yeah,
he's got a lot of money, as we know.
Clearly.
But yeah, so basically, beginning of this episode, we get in. So now we're removed enough from Logan's death where we're kind of just back into gear, I think.
2 days later.
Yeah, 2 days later. So Logan, Kendall, Shiv, Roman, and the rest of the crew, Carl, Jerry, Frank, they all go out to Norway at the request of Mattson. He asked that they bring everyone.
Yeah.
Which was interesting.
Yeah.
To close the deal, right? They get there, and obviously, as we know in the show, it's not as straightforward as they make it out to be, and there's a lot of back and forth. Mattson really plays a hardball game with them. I think he sees that they're vulnerable now that Logan's dead. I think they want to close this deal while they're vulnerable, while they're still getting over that, and as we see at the end of this episode, Roman is very much working on emotion.
I told you he didn't pre-grieve. I knew that was bullshit.
Yeah, right. So I think this is another great episode in terms of just, kind of it's centered around just a bunch of people getting together and just all the back and forths they have together. We see Shiv kind of going out on her own and maybe setting some stuff up for the future, which will come into play.
And the title of the episode was The Kill List.
Yeah, The Kill List.
Right.
So, which we then would get at the end of the episode. But, really, there's not a big narrative structure to this episode. It's really just a lot of little interactions. But the whole background is they go there
to close the deal.
To close the deal, they want what was it, upwards of 144 they wanted, and keeping ATN. And then Mattson throws in the curveball that he'll do that if he gets ATN too. So he wants the whole thing.
He said 187 with ATN.
Yes. So, which was obviously something that I think we would both agree, if Logan was around, he would never have the balls to ask for ATN too. Right?
He already did, and Logan said no. He carved it out.
Right. Yeah.
But
so
now
but now that they're gone, he's bringing that back. And that really puts things into question for Roman and Kendall. I think are getting comfortable in the CEO chair, even though it's been a day. So what do you think?
I love that. There's a great spot where they say that with it's this scene with Siobhan where they're like, we've been doing a good job, and she's like, for 24 hours. Like, what?
Yeah, right.
There's a lot going on. There's a lot to break down in this episode, and you're gonna have to stop me at some point because there is so much that went on, and I liked the episode and the writing and the stuff that happened. I thought it was a little cheap as well on a production standpoint. Now that sounds weird because they went to fucking Norway to shoot the episode.
That's right. Yeah.
But what I mean by that is, it immediately the first thing I thought was that it was an excuse to get the entire cast to go to Norway. Okay.
Yeah.
There's no reason. There was no reason to have everybody in the cast there. You should have sent the 3 kids, right? But they sent Greg, they sent Tom, they sent Shiv, they sent the entire cast ended up going to Norway when they really didn't need to.
Well, see, I disagree. I think it's because Mattson was shaping out who he wants to keep and who he wants to kill.
Bro, I understand what their point in what they said they were doing. What I'm saying is that when you acquire a business, you can go in the next day and fire anybody you don't like. You can look at track records after you buy the business. That's
I guess, but he kind of sent his guys out throughout the episode to each person and kind of eyeing.
So I thought this was interesting. There's a lot I've watched. Obviously, I've already watched other videos on YouTube about the episode and everything else. And there are some people that seem to think that Jerry knew some stuff ahead of time. She's like, her and Carolina are the only ones that are not on the kill list at the end.
Right.
Everybody else is getting fired. Everybody else is getting fired. Frank, Carl, Hugo.
Tom's not on it either, though.
Tom's not on it either. But then that was probably because of the interaction with Shiv.
Yeah.
Right. And I don't think Greg's on it either. But
I would say that I think Jerry, out of that group with Carl and Frank, she probably out of those three is most fit to take over. So I think
right. But on the plane ride to Norway, Hugo was saying how like, you know, we got to be nice to them and we don't want to be on the kill list or whatever. And Jerry's the one who's like, we were raised by wolves. Like they don't even know what's coming to them.
Yeah.
And then Hugo is super rude to the guy that's the Olympian.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, you almost won a bronze. Why, you almost had something worth talking about or whatever he says. And it's like, what?
A lot of balls for just committing
insider
trading.
Exactly. Number one. And number two, like, I don't know why you would say that. Like, I don't even think that's something Logan would say. Like, to somebody he just met. Like, that's weird. It was like a weird, rude fucking moment.
Yeah.
I thought, so there were a lot of, like, interesting aspects to me in the sense of like the way that you look, the way that you interact in a business setting, and like all of a sudden how minor details of like not political correctness but like social correctness, like they show up to that buffet where they're all going to eat, right? And all the like they just walk in and immediately just start going for food that's like might be theirs, might not be, like they didn't, and then
Hugo
they walk in there like, oh,
big plate.
Yeah, you didn't even wait for us. Like, okay, like that's fucking weird to me, dude. Like, I mean, I guess technically they have the upper hand, but like they really don't. Like, they're selling their company. Like that's how you treat client. I don't know, man. It was just a weird, like, and I think it was because of the conversation that Jerry had with all of them on the plane ride over. Like, we got to walk in there like, you know, swinging our self around,
which is probably, you know, it's a cultural thing too, because obviously this whole other company is mostly Swedish or from the European area too.
I think it's just a polite versus rude thing. Like, would you do that?
No, that's what I'm saying. But I also think it's like also exposing who there is really qualified to be in the position they're in. Because Mattson even makes the joke. He's like, oh, there's another one. Like, you're all related. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? It's very, you know, whereas Mattson's team seems to be just the best people available they've put together.
A smart business.
Which I think is, again, why Mattson wanted to see, okay, who's here because they're friends of the family, who's here because they're actually good at their job.
Right. And I think it exposes, in a completely different vein, but the same vein but different aspect of it, is how many favors Logan did for people.
Right.
You know? And how, like, not bad he actually was. And they didn't realize what Logan was doing for them. Which I find incredibly interesting. But, you know, all that aside, Mattson makes this offer. How did you feel about that scene where they were negotiating? See, this is why I feel like it was cheap and weird and kind of just bizarre. Like, Mattson sends this email that's like, you're all coming to Norway. And then when they all show up to negotiate, he's like, oh, I just want to talk to the two of you.
No, because he's, so you know the whole scene where they're like all congregating and they're like,
I get that.
He sends out kind of like they did with PGM in season 2. They're like, oh, you get him, and report back. I think that's all that was.
That's fair. Yeah. That's fair, I guess. I don't know. How did you feel about that negotiating scene though, where they all started talking over each other at first and then?
Oh, when they first sat down.
Oh, yeah. I
think it just shows they're not Logan. You know what I'm saying? They're the two. The begin with it's two people versus one, so it's not a one-on-one conversation. You got two guys here who, although they are brothers, are very different in how they approach things.
Okay,
and they're just they're butting heads, and I think Mattson's sitting back there and it's like, these fucking guys. You know what I'm saying?
I think so. I think it's funny when you like play pretend CEO versus being the CEO in this, and like. Kendall actually was really cool in this episode, and Roman was really cool in this episode. But I think and I don't think it's necessarily right or wrong to do this, but Mattson, you're right. Mattson definitely has the upper hand. He has the money, but at the same time, and see, I don't want to go like too far off track here. But when I was in the car business, when I was selling cars, I put you through like sales training and everything like that. And at some point, like they teach you that you have to do, like, in sales they call it the takeaway close. So you have all these different types of closes. You know, it's fine if you don't want it we'll take it away is the takeaway close. And then if somebody really wants it, they'll say, no, I really want it. And then they'll buy it anyway, right? So if there's someone's negotiating, right, price of a car, let's say, just to put it in real terms for everybody, and they say they want to take like $1,000 off the price. If you can't do it or you don't want to take the $1,000 off the price, you say, listen, maybe this isn't the car for you. We'll take it away and we'll find a different car that's cheaper that you can afford. If they really want that car, they'll pay the extra money is what I'm saying. Right? But it shows the lack of experience in that kind of transaction, right? I do find it kind of funny on like how small of a transaction a car purchases in comparison to a $144 billion company, but that the tactics are the same. It's a little bit more relationship based in this, obviously, as opposed to like a couple hours to buy a car. But the tactics are still very similar, and I thought it was very interesting when they're sitting there and with Mattson and they're talking about all this stuff, and I was sitting on the couch the first time I watched it going, just walk away. Tell him he can't have it. Tell him the deal's off because he's going to jump. He wants to buy the company. Just be like, listen, if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. And Roman does kind of have a moment like that. At the end of that meeting, he says, geez, I'd really hate to have this all, blow. That's later in the thing when they're at the congregating, when they're at the table. I thought Kendall was pretty good. He's pretty calm, but he's still... It's one thing to be calm and try and capitulate to someone who's acting like an ass, and it's another thing to call somebody out, which we'll talk about as we continue, because he definitely gets called out at some point. But I think, and I feel like Mattson approached it in a weird way. It was a rude way to do it, but he wanted one of them to do what Roman does later.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Yes. Okay. No. Yes. I think Kendall. The issue with Kendall is, in all the seasons, is that he's very good at like, here are the facts, right? Here are the numbers. He always quotes shit and like whatever.
Yeah, but he has an arrogance about him.
He does, and that's the thing is I think that what Logan had was a balance, and I don't think that they're. In theory, they would work good together because I think Roman has the Logan thing where it's just talking, it's selling, just like making comments and stuff, and then Kendall's like all facts. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but yes. But the thing that I like about Roman, though, is that he is, I get what you're saying, and I don't disagree with you.
Yeah.
But the arrogant, like when he, I just loved Kendall's facial expression. Jeremy Strong is really good, man.
Yeah, he's great.
As much of a pain in the ass as he is to work with, I'm sure, based on the stuff that we've read. Like he lives as Kendall while they're shooting.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Stuff like that. Whatever. That's fine. Actors are weird. If they weren't weird, though, they wouldn't be good at what they do.
Yeah, right.
Okay? But the thing that I found interesting about that scene when they're all at this, do we have a picture of the party? Well, we have this when they all start kind of going around. I got stuff to say about these two too, but when they're all sitting there and he goes, "Oh, you want to do this here?" You know what I mean? Outside.
Yeah.
And Mattson's like, "Oh, sure." I don't care. Like he knows he has the upper hand.
Oh, 100%.
You know what I mean?
I mean, I think the other thing of bringing them all to Norway is like,
you're on their territory.
Yeah, right. And he says like, he says that bullshit thing where he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry you guys had to come out here. I know it was like an issue." He did it on purpose.
Of course he did it on purpose to flex. I feel like Logan, if Logan was really not the kind of person where I don't think this would have gotten in the way of Logan. Of a death in the family. I mean, he would have been like, well, I guess I missed the funeral. They're going to still be in the ground when I get back.
Right.
Which isn't necessarily the nicest thing to do, but this is business. It's so weird because when you do these business-to-business transactions, you spend so much time with people and you spend so much time trying to impress people and trying to get them on your side that it becomes a sort of relationship, and it's so easy to mix the emotion with the business. And Mattson is no emotion whatsoever.
Yeah,
he is also just facts. Like when he calls out Kendall and he calls him Volter boy or Volter guy or whatever it is.
Yep.
And that facial expression from Jeremy Strong and the reaction there is like, oh, yeah, I mean, I've made some mistakes or whatever he says.
Yeah.
Which is, it's such a good moment because it's so rude in polite society friendship stuff, and this is not friendship.
Yeah.
He calls him that, and he calls him out on his shit because he's like, I know you're bullshit. I know that that this is not, you're pretending.
Yes.
To be CEO guy. Like you've messed up deals. I know all about your shit, and this is billions of dollars that we're talking about of my money.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to let you let you walk all over me in this deal. So it's from that aspect of it. Was it the nice thing to do? Of course not. No, he's an asshole. You know, the guy's
which is probably why him and Logan got along so much.
Exactly, because he probably looked up to someone like Logan and said, "Gee, you know, when I'm your age, I hope that I'm half the man that you are," kind of deal.
Yeah.
You know? So there's an instantaneous amount of respect there. Now he's got to deal with the tribute band, which I thought was a great line. A great line. Oh my God. It's so rude. It's so good though. It was just fantastic.
But
go ahead. Continue.
Well, it was just so I mean, like really this whole episode Mattson is just playing his hand. You know, he's throwing everyone around, doing what he wants, but then the Shiv thing comes in.
Let's talk about it.
Let's talk about Shiv this episode. All right? Shiv has been very interesting this season.
So I think we can both agree really quick before you go on that Mattson's not a bad-looking guy. It's not like he doesn't look like Carl or
Skarsgård, man.
Right, but he
Family
doesn't.
Jeans.
Right, but he's a Swede. You know, he's a tall, blonde, whatever, like good-looking dude. He's obviously a Dave Portnoy, Elon Musk kind of like he's that young billionaire, whatever kind of new money look to him. You know what I mean? Tech guy.
Yeah.
Whatever. Right. I knew immediately when they said that all these people were coming, and then Shiv is also on the list. I'm like, watch what happens with Shiv and Mattson.
Oh, I knew right when he went in for the hug and he made that comment.
Yeah.
So,
how'd you feel about well, you talk for a minute. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, before we even get into her meeting with Mattson, what do you think about the pregnancy thing? Because they showed it in the previously on.
That's the one thing I didn't pull.
And then she doesn't bring it up, but throughout this whole episode, she's drinking, she's doing drugs.
Yep.
Do you think she is trying to just kill the baby that way?
Well,
because I think it's a lot easier to tell Tom, "Oh, we had a miscarriage," versus "I got an abortion" or something. You know what I'm saying?
Or that like something else happened. I don't know if you noticed, and we didn't mention it, and I'm aggravated that we didn't mention it in the last episode. After she gets not voted as part of the CEO team, she trips and she fell.
Yeah.
And they never really addressed it, and no one there really reacts to it because she's quote unquote fine.
Yeah.
But also nobody knows that she's pregnant except her.
Right.
And then in this episode, she's drinking and she's doing drugs and she's doing things that are like what are you doing? I didn't understand what you're doing. Listen, again, we're not trying to get political at all, but whatever you're gonna do, if you are going to stay pregnant, probably shouldn't be drinking and doing drugs.
Oh, 100%.
So
that's why I'm wondering if she's self-sabotaging it or if what you're saying is that the baby died when she fell.
I don't know if she's trying. Yeah, I don't know if she's trying to force that to happen, which is not going to be a good thing if the baby doesn't die and then has problems due to complications of the way that she acted when she's pregnant.
I mean, it's pretty fucked up, but I think it's her. If I had to put money on one option, I'd say it's probably she doesn't want to tell Tom that she's pregnant and that she doesn't want it, so she's doing it this way.
Yeah.
You know?
Although, at the end of it, not to jump too far ahead, because it is a small thing, but she did ask Tom if he wants to get dinner when they get back, and I don't know. Tom stood up for himself finally for once. It was kind of an awkward stand-up for himself.
What did he say?
He said, your earlobes are thick and chewy, like barnacle meat.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
It's weird.
Yeah. But he is a weirdo. I thought it was great. I mean, for his character,
it's totally
it was fantastic.
So let's talk about this meeting, though. So obviously, Mattson and Shiv meet together, doing drugs, drinking. This meeting was definitely longer than what we saw. Obviously,
100%.
I think that Shiv had a lot to do with the deal that Mattson ends up offering at the end of the episode, and I also think that through their conversation, she made sure her place for the future was solidified.
Oh yeah, guaranteed.
You know, I think that if this deal goes through, she's going to have a position within this company, which otherwise she wouldn't have if Kendall and Roman kept it.
Right. She also, at the very beginning of this episode, I know we jump around a lot, but it is important because we go character by character as opposed to through the show.
Yeah.
But at the beginning of the episode, Roman and Kendall both offer to what do they say to axe Tom or murder Tom or kill Tom
they do.
Whatever it is. And she doesn't take the bait. She's like, "Well, I'll think about it. I'll let you know." And then at the end of the episode, she's like, "Tom, do you want to get dinner?"
Right.
So he's not on the kill list.
Yeah.
So which is interesting.
I mean, it's so weird because everything she's doing like negates the other thing she's doing. Because, like, if our theory is right and she's trying to kill the baby with the alcohol, why is she trying to get back with better relationship with Tom?
Yeah, I don't know.
It's very weird.
I don't know what's going on. How did you feel about the blood brick thing and the all that stuff with
What
with
about
Mattson?
him sending it?
Yeah, to the girl that works for him, but whatever. And he says people are judging him now. It's like a different culture altogether when you talk international
I know,
stuff.
yeah.
She's like, well, you should probably stop sending her your blood.
Yes.
He was sending her like a liter at a time, or like some crazy amount of blood in bricks, and he's doing it over and over again.
Yeah, it's weird that he opened up to her, because he wouldn't have opened up to Kendall or Roman about any of that shit.
Well,
too.
I think, listen, everyone, all of us, we all have weaknesses. And clearly for him, it's either women or this girl that he's talking about or whatever, and he felt more comfortable. I mean, this is way more of the real Mattson as opposed to whatever. It's just a complete juxtaposition of the way that he acts when he's talking business versus talking, and he even says to Shiv, he says, I'm all for, doing mushroom or mescaline for breakfast.
Yeah.
But when it's business, it's just numbers. Like, just tell me what the number is and let's just do the job and move on, you know?
Right.
So I think that's very interesting.
What you wanted to talk about Frank and Carl.
Yeah, it was more on like that Hugo vein too of like they don't go in the sauna, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which is that I don't want to say like toxic masculinity, but it's a very American culture to be like, oh, that's weird, I'm not going in the sauna.
Yeah.
And you have all these Swedish dudes naked in the sauna, like together, just relaxing, and you know what I mean? But Frank and Carl, and then you wonder like, oh, why are we on the kill list? Because you didn't play the game.
Yeah, right.
You know, it's one thing to play the game and lose. It's another thing to just not play at all, and then you just look like an asshole.
I will say it is funny, like when they read off the kill list and Frank's just like, like he knew it was happening.
He was fired
he's been
season
whipped around
1. He doesn't give a shit.
Yeah, he knew. Yeah,
he got fired, rehired, and all this. He's done, dude. Frank is old. He's done. I think Carl thought he was going to be CEO. He's an idiot.
Yeah,
but like, that's over. I thought it was funny that like, the reactions to the kill list, and then you see how they acted earlier in the episode, and I'm shocked that they're shocked. Like, you guys were assholes the whole episode, the whole time, and then you wonder why you got fired.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. But, I mean, obviously the prelude to that kill list was the negotiation scene, the final negotiation scene up on the mountain.
Yes. Really quick, do you think that Shiv slept with Mattson? Or that anything more than business happened between the two?
I mean, it's Shiv, so she maybe. I don't know. I'm 50-50 on it. I really am.
Yeah.
I will say, like, him calling her in the morning and her, like, facial expressions maybe lean me to something did happen, but I wouldn't be surprised if nothing did either, and they just kind of had a heart-to-heart.
So one thing leading up to this mountain thing, okay, that we haven't talked about yet. We've mentioned it before, and mentioning it again, these episodes this season are day by day. It's 24 hour, 24 hour, 24 hour, okay? They all leave. And the one kid that gets left behind is Connor.
Yeah.
And Marcia strikes again. Marcia.
I forgot about that, yeah.
Right. And Connor calls Roman and says, hey, Marcia is trying to put Dad in a kilt.
Yep. For the wake.
Because he's Scottish.
Oh, yeah.
So he's trying to get buried in a kilt.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't know how to deal with that because they're in another country. But there's so much chaos going on regarding, all this stuff. And I felt bad for Connor because I'm like, oh, dude, you got to handle all this stuff by yourself.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? And literally the entire rest of his family is in Norway.
Yeah.
That's got to be crazy. So it was Kendall, I think, who was like, send pictures when they're on speaker. And Roman's like, don't send pictures. He's not taking him to Disneyland. Don't send pictures. So then, this is why I mention it, because leading up to this thing that happens on this meeting that happens on the mountain, right when they're in the trolley going up the mountain, Roman gets a picture of his dead father in a kilt.
Right.
From Connor. And I think that if he didn't get the picture, this scene would have gone drastically differently.
Yeah.
Drastically
the emotions really came to a boiling point here.
And I think that that's part of the reason that Roman didn't want to sell ATN. None of them actually care about ATN or the business or whatever. Roman is trying to finalize the deal that his father implemented.
Yes.
Okay? And Matsson's just messing around with them regardless. And some things get said on the mountain.
They do.
Do you
but I
remember?
would say, though, too, that they went up to this mountain really to kill it. And Matsson calls them out on that. Like, are you trying to kill this? You know?
Yeah, they show him the shittiest cut of the movie that the studio's making.
He senses that because even though they use the excuse that this isn't the deal that Dad wanted for them to keep the company.
But this is that arrogance that I'm talking about. Like, they think that they're playing the game, but they're playing by all of the
Logan's
Yeah. But what I'm saying is, like, the business transaction, right? So they think they know how to kill this deal, as if Matsson's an idiot, right?
Right.
So we have a movie studio, and we have a movie that's like that we've invested way too much money in that's not going to do well. So let's play the 3-hour longest cut of this film and make everybody bored to tears, which they do, except Matsson. Because he knows what's going on.
Yep.
And, you know, there's news articles that randomly come out that there's tension and that there's all this crap and everything else. And Matsson's like, are you stupid? Like, I know exactly what you're doing.
Yeah.
You know? They thought, though, that they were going to get one over on him because they don't have enough experience to be able to pull the wool over his eyes.
Yes.
And I think all Matsson really wants is this is my point. He goes about it. The whole thing is that Matsson's very rude and unconventional. Okay, but he's foreign, and there's a different culture, and he's arrogant
direct
because he has money.
Yeah,
and he's the client. Customer's always right.
Yeah.
Okay. My point, though, is that I think in a backwards way, all he wants is for them to be real people.
Yeah.
And stop with the fucking games. Just be human.
Yeah.
And then they go up on the mountain, and he says, your father, what would he think of you now if he was looking at you now?
Yeah.
He'd be disappointed. And Roman is boiling over. Kendall I don't think Kendall really cares.
Yeah, because I think he
was done with his dad.
Yeah,
he said to him on his deathbed, I can't forgive you.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that's where Kendall was at. But Roman
definitely has the most personal aspect in this game
100%.
At this point. I think even more than Shiv.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which comes out, when he has that big rant, everyone's calling for the Emmy for Kieran Culkin.
Yeah. I loved it. I really loved it.
Yeah.
I think Kieran Culkin also has said in interviews that he did not take his family with him when they went to Norway to film. And that he really does not like spending time away from his kids and stuff like that. And so he was miserable the entire trip, which aided in his performance. That's what he said. And which I think is interesting and really dangerous for your mental health, but whatever. Yeah. That's neither here nor there. And so that's interesting. But then finally, Matsson says, your father would be so disappointed in you, whatever it is, blah, blah, blah. And Roman snaps and says, we will never sell to you. I hate your guts. We don't like you at all. And if you try and whatever, I'll say it was, try and tell people that I'm saying any of this, I'll say it was a negotiation tactic.
Yeah.
And there's no way you're going to win this game. And I promise you will never get our company. We don't want your money. You're not good enough. And we're walking away. And I think that raw emotion and honesty is what Matsson was looking for the entire time.
Yep.
Because they leave, and then they get the phone call.
Yeah.
Frank gets the phone call.
195.
192.
192. With ATN.
With ATN.
Big offer.
192.
Probably it's an offer you can't refuse.
You wouldn't be allowed to.
Yeah.
You wouldn't. It's Elon Musk buying Twitter for way over the stock price. Like there's no you can't. Because you have a duty to the stockholders. That's an SEC violation. So that's it was just interesting. I knew that was going to happen. I knew that was going to happen because it was honesty. It was real. And it really, for me at least, puts me in the position that Roman's going to take everything.
Think so?
Yeah, absolutely. Roman, either that or he's going to completely quit. And leave it with Kendall.
Yeah.
Because I don't think Roman can handle it. if Roman gives up, or if Roman doesn't take over, I should say,
Mhm.
I think he quits because it's too emotional for him.
Yeah, it's funny because after every episode, we have a different person. We're like,
Well, I
Who-
think it'll
who
be
we
funny,
think's
and I
gonna
told
land.
you this, dude, last week. The smallest thing messes something up, and then everybody gets messed
Yeah.
up. So Shiv might be the one that ends up with it too, because
yeah, who knows what she agreed upon in that meeting?
yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Do you think this? So now, let's say that they buy it, whatever, blah blah blah. Fine, right?
Mhm.
Do you think this is the end of Mattson though?
No, why?
Well, because the company's not theirs anymore. The whole point of this is who takes over the company, and then where do they go from there?
No, but Mattson's buying them.
He's buying the. What do you mean he's buying them? He's buying the company
Yeah. Why would Mattson go away?
because we don't follow the company. We follow the Roy family
Oh, you're saying like go away as in like
in the show.
in the show? It's no, I doubt it. I think
Yeah.
I think it'll be around.
Yeah.
Because I think now that if this deal does go through, there's going to be a whole internal battle of like who's doing what.
Right.
You know.
Fair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
That's a good point. No, this is that scene with when he's
Yeah.
laughing at him. I love
Like
it.
the
Mattson
Joker
walks
right
away.
there.
Yeah, it's fantastic,
Yeah.
dude. It was a really good scene,
Mhm.
and I love it. Mattson's taking a piss, and Roman, who jerks off on a window in his
Yes.
own office, like who
Mhm.
just doesn't care. It's so not even about anything for him. You don't want privacy, and that's what I'm saying. It was real.
yeah.
You know, it was like, yeah, this is so I'll come over while you're
Mhm.
peeing, and I'm going to tell you that you suck, and that I hate your guts, and that you'll
Yeah.
never get in my company, and yeah, I don't know.
I'm excited.
I'm
mean,
we're always excited.
We're always
but it's,
excited about the show.
and that's
but we're halfway
that's
through.
that's the beauty of it.
It's gonna
you
be
know?
sad when it's over, but they're setting up for a good finale. I think here.
I hope so.
We'll see. But
It'll definitely be interesting.
anyway, guys, thank you for watching that review. Thank you for watching the whole podcast. As always, guys, like, subscribe, leave comments down below, ask some questions, let us know what you thought about everything that we talked about. It really helps out the channel. All your support, it helps us to keep doing this thing every
Yeah.
week. And
It's so cool. We've had a lot of support, so it is really
yeah,
cool.
and the subscribers are going up, guys, and the views are going up. So thank you for watching. We really appreciate that. As always, you can catch the Movie Mob podcast every Friday at 6 p.m. You got Movie Roulette on Mondays at 12 p.m. and then Sideline with Matt if you're a sports guy on Sports Guy or Girl.
Yeah.
At 12 p.m.
Sports
on
person.
Wednesdays.
A person of sports.
Person. Portion of sports.
Portion of sports.
Porcelain. So thank you guys for watching. As always, we'll see you next week. How you doing?